speaks, or they're at a bar mitzvah, and as the Rav walks up, they dash out. What message do you think they're sending to the children? It's not subliminal. The children say, my father was so burdened by a Rav. Oh, I'm going to daven in the shul without a Rav. Yeah, we're all B'nai Torah. We'll take turns saying a vart. You know, this one knows a Shaila Torah and a Talmud Yoris, and this one knows. I know how to listen to a vart from Rabbi Elimelech Biederman, and I'll tell a story from Rabbi Zilberstein. I can make, why do I need to burden myself with a Rav? That's what happens. And that's at the root of this question. Truth of the matter is we want, if we're good parents, we want our children to have a Rav, and we want our daughters to marry a boy that has a Rav. Because what happens otherwise? There's a problem. Who the wife going to turn to? And there's a problem in business. Somebody calls me up, and I said, well, who's the other person's Rav? He says, oh, he was a Talmud of Reb Aaron. But who's his Rav now? What am I supposed to go to the basic forest to negotiate? It's a serious problem. It's a serious problem. And if there's a problem in the marriage, if there's a Rav, I can tell you, I could speak about this the whole night. I could tell you a story of one of my balabatim that came to me on Monday and told me, Rabbi Weiss, you saved my child's life. I said to him, Shlomiel, I can take credit for a lot of things, but I wasn't near your child since Shabbos. I certainly didn't save his life. He said, no, I'm telling you, you saved my children's life. I said, I got to hear this one. He said, remember on Shabbos, you were talking about health. And you were talking about nishmarte ma'od. And you mentioned that when I said over at that time, I had somebody in my shul, Dr. Ruvain Avrik, that was a triage specialist in a busy emergency room. And he told me that he never pulled the sheet over the head of a car accident victim that had the straps marks of the seatbelts. So he said it's a dava pashut, that when you do it, you fulfill a mitzvah saseh. So I want you to know that my children never wore seatbelts. This Sunday, because the Rav spoke about it, they wore their seatbelts. They were in a head-on collision. They would be both dead if they weren't wearing their seatbelts. That's why you need a Rav. You need a Rav to hack about the dangers of smoking. You need a Rav to talk about drinking responsibly. You need a Rav to warn people not to go near gambling. Of course, you need a Rav for a host of other reasons, because the Rav is going to talk about the dangers of kas, and the Rav is going to talk. A Rav is going to teach people how to live, and he's not in the same. You'll say, but why do I need a Rav for that? Because the Rav is in a different place in the world than you are. He's living in a world that's more ruchani. And that's why you go to a Beis HaKnesses. Just like we send our children to yeshiva and we don't keep them at home, the place to daven is not in a tent outside. It's not a social club. I know we're more comfortable. And if what you feel is that you become needed, believe me, this, for a good man, no matter what the size of the shul is, and no matter what the size of the kehillah is, there's a lot of work for a good man to do in your Beis HaKnesses. You don't have to have a tent for that. The tents were good when we needed them. But it's time to go back to the Beis HaKnesses. Okay, this is a very difficult question. And it's my opinion. And amongst some of the ladies, it's not going to be popular. but I'm going to say it anyway. Tznius is an important issue. But where do we draw the lines between halacha, minig, and chumrah? For example, we have heard people speak about against leggings. And I refer to leggings worn with a dress that covers the knees. Is there something wrong with that? She's covered. If anything, I'll add to it. If anything, she's more covered. Furthermore, should we teach girls and women the difference between halacha, minig, chumrah, or lump them all together? We need to teach girls the ruach of tznius. I remember a good meeting in 5 Beekman Street. It's a long time ago, 5 Beekman Street. I remember at that time, the slits below the knees came out. And it was the rage of the day. Is it right to wear a slit below the knee? Anyway, you don't have to have a dress there at all. So what could be wrong? Yes, a knuckle dummy? Well, that could be wrong. If you don't need anything, so what's wrong with a slit below the knee? And I remember my dear colleague, Rav Lezer Ginsburg Shlita, coming into the meeting with a document from Pierre Cardin, where Pierre Cardin said that the creation of the slit and the flashing of off and on of the leg is to attract the eye to the leg. It's a beferish of Pierre Cardin. Beferish. The idea of this is to understand that then it's not the ruach tznius. My personal hergish, and I want to preface this, that I'm only answering this question for a woman that now asks, so you want to know for your daughters, what should you do? A woman that's already doing it, I'm not saying something you should go in charging into your house. It shouldn't be done. Get rid of it. That's why you have a Rav. It's his problem. Right? I'm only saying, I don't want to make shalom bias problems. I'm only saying if a woman wants to know what to do, what's right, this wearing pants under the skirt opens up a door for a host of problems. It's introducing pants onto the woman. Then she comes into the house and she's hot, she's sweated up, she ran, she rips off the skirt, her older kid comes in and sees her in pants. Her husband comes in and sees her not looking like a woman. Or the skirt gets shorter and shorter, because anyway, I'm covered. The main thing is to cover, right? I'm covered, but you don't want to see the form fitting of the pants. So the skirt gets shorter and shorter. Then she takes off the pants and she's walking around the house with the short skirt. It's a minig that is fraught with disaster. Besides that, in my humble opinion, we're living at a time of feminism, and anything that makes a woman look less feminine is not a healthy thing. And if a woman wants it very much, why does she want it very much? I see women running with the leggings even on a hot 90-degree summer day. What does she need it for? If she wants it too much, you know the famous word, Toiv ma'od ze yetzer hara. Rav Twersky, Zechtzat Levrachas, Chus Young and Elaine, says, you know why ma'od ze yetzer hara? If you want something too much, it's a sign that it's the yetzer hara. And if a woman, when her husband doesn't want it, insists on doing it, that's a sure sign that it's not coming from a good place. I'll tell you something else. Yeshiva boys don't want their wives to wear pants under their skirts. So it's going to be a shidduch issue. It's going to be a shidduch issue. Oh, she wears leggings under this. It's not for me. Now, if your wife does it, the children, the girls will do it. That's another big lesson. I was once in a Ask the Rabbi session. The rabbi was Rav Shimon Schwab. And it was at an Aguda. Rav Shera was there at that meeting. I remember Rav Yisrael Reisman, together with your Rav, two of the shining stars of our time. I really feel like a pipsqueak compared to your Rav, so, but the bottom line is that Rav Yisrael Reisman asked Rav Shimon Schwab how he's supposed to teach the women tznius. And Rav Schwab says you don't. Because if you do, and I know this as I've teaching girls for 38 years, 39 years now. The year my Rebbetzin passed away, I didn't teach until I remarried with the bracha of the Eibishter. The year I took off from teaching girls when I was single. But I never taught the girls tznius because I know what happens. They say, look where he's looking. Look where his eyes are. So that's what Rav Schwab said. You don't teach. He says, either get an old man like me or get a woman. But I'll add something. Don't teach the girls. At the PTA, teach the parents. Because the girls dress like their mommies. If the mommy is going to wear leggings, the girls are going to wear leggings. Do you know, I remember telling the girls, this is so long ago, but I remember telling the girls that you'll see, tell your brothers they shouldn't smoke because it's going to become a shidduch issue. And of course it is. Smart parents don't want their daughters to date somebody that's smoking. I'm telling you, there's going to be a lot of boys that don't want to date girls with leggings under their skirt. Is it worth it? I know I'm giving you an earful on this, but I think it's important. Tznius for a woman, we know that it says, Barasi Yetzahara Barasi Torah Tavnuma. Our antidote is Torah. What about women? What's their antidote? So some learn that that's Pshat in the Gemara and Brachas Noshim B'Mezachin. How do they conquer the Yetzer Hara? Through the learning, waiting up for their husbands when they come home and to get their children to learn. But the guidance says in the Igeres Hagra that the weapon against the Yetzer Hara for women is tznius. So anything that women could do special in tznius is a gewaltige Zach. B'derech normal, not? Okay, so this is a very important question. I don't want to skip it because we're running out of time. And I want to do this question because this question has troubled me during COVID almost more than anything else. It's an excellent question and it needs to be addressed. How do I explain to my children when some Rabbanim Chashuvim take a position that is against the overwhelming message that almost all Rabbanim say is wrong and is based on irrational conspiracy theories? Should I call it Machlokes L'Shem Shemayim when it may be dignifying a position that is a sakana and lifnei iver? Yeah, I'm talking about anti-vaxxers, COVID and otherwise. So first of all, let me preface my remarks by saying that I am double vaccinated. I wore an N95 mask for a year plus. My shul was mandatory masking. We were closed from the week after Purim until 2 weeks before Shavuos. We then, 2 weeks, we had only outside minyanim, where I mandated that anybody over 60 had to daven in the car with the window open, even though he was sitting. And then when we came back, we masked for a year. I had a Hasidic minyan in my shul that refused to mask, and I asked them to please leave, which they did. I told them, look, you can do whatever you want, but the average age of my killer was over 60, and I can't expose them to you. So either put on a mask or leave. And they wanted to bring kids, and they wanted to daven without a mask, so I asked them to leave. So that my position is a very conservative position. I believe in listening to doctors. I believe that just like on Yom Kippur, when it's a question of whether a person should fast, I ask mumchim, two mumchim. So I believe here also, I asked many infectious disease experts, and I asked different other medical experts, and I acted according to when it came to the vaccines, I followed the psak of both Reb David Zecher Tzadik V'Kosher Brachas Chusiyah Aleinu and Reb Ruvain Feinstein. Reb Ruvain already took the booster, the third shot. He even took it before the 8 months. I'm on the cusp of the 8th month for the booster. I will probably take the booster as well. But, there is a but. And just like I explained to my kehillah at the time, who were very upset at those communities where there wasn't even masking. People were dying even in that community, and they weren't masking, and they were angry. And they were angry at the rabbonim or rebbes of those communities. And I told them, Al toden es chaver chad shetegiah lemekaymai. You have families with 10 children, 10 of them on one block. The mothers can't keep their children in the house, Yama V'Layla, and they can't keep masks on the young children. The children were mingling anyway. Everybody was mingling. They were all exposed. So what were we supposed to do? Mandate masks in the shuls when everybody was all exposed to everything? For communities as ours, where it was possible, of course it's prudent. But you have to know that each community has to know, that's why it says that you have to know what the Murda Asra says. Because each community has its specific situations and needs. But that's not what this question is. This is a much more serious question. I just wanted to, again, I'm a coward. I start slowly, you know. This question is something else. We had measles breakouts, terrible Chil Hashems, where Jewish communities were targeted, that they weren't vaccinating for the measles. And people were getting rabbinical letters of exemption and presenting it to their shuls. How do you explain that? It makes you angry. As a matter of fact, when I spoke to Reb Chaim Zwiebel, Reb Chaim David Zwiebel, who I have immense, as I know your Rav does as well, immense respect and veneration for him. And he says, my hands are tied. There's members on the Moitzes Ketera HaTorah that don't hold for vaccination. Well, what are we supposed to do with that? So I want to tell you something. I'm a good chess player. Love plays chess? It's a good thing. You would have probably wiped me off the map. He would remember every opening from the Roy Lopez to the forget it. I would have no chance, But I'm a rather advanced chess player. I don't play it on time. My Rebbe played chess until he was 8. Then he gave it up, But Rabbi Yaakov was still picking up games in his 90s in our Shraga. But I don't have time really to play. But I'm a rather advanced player. But there were times that I played a grandmaster. And he cleaned me up like kilachar yad. Mamish wiped me out. I could even tell you a story. Can I go a few minutes longer? Or? Yeah? Yeah? I didn't ask you. No, he davens with Seekins. So, there's always one in the crowd, But you could leave now. I'll pick you up. Start walking, His Rebbitzin was away, and he has to pick her up in the airport tomorrow. So I don't want him to be schlufferdick. So you can go in the room and go to sleep. I had a Maisa once that when I was 8 years old, Samuel Reshevsky gave a 50-game simul in the Pine View Hotel. And I played in it. I was one of the 50. He didn't pay much attention because I was a real skinny, runty kid, very small. He probably didn't even see me there. And ended up, I was the last one. So he was playing me head on. And at the end, I even got to the time limit, but he announced that he would go here, here, and here, and here, and he would win, which of course was true. But I was the last one in. Fast forward, I'm 18 years old, and I'm with my parents and Skalin residents in a Pesach hotel. And a very aged Samuel Reshevsky was there at the hotel. He was from a Yid. And he came to my shiurim. And on Chol Hamoed, he gave a simul. But this wasn't like the Pine View was heavily advertised. This was whoever was at the hotel. So like 18 people came with all kinds of fakrach on the boards. He asked me with a smile if I'm going to play. So I said yes. So he said to me, "You're going to lose first." I couldn't believe he remembered. I was 8. You're going to lose first. So I played something called the Nimzo Indian Defense, which is a very closed opening that'll be very hard. First of all, the people there, they don't know how to play. They were kids. He made it that nobody should lose until I lost first. Now, what's this ganze lange meis? It's late over here. But I learned something from chess. And that is, I look at a board and I think I see all the angles. And then somebody that knows how to play better than me just shows me, you don't see all the angles. And it's very humbling. I don't see all the angles. I see a lot of angles, but I don't see all the angles. And that humbles a person. Do you know, the Rav could rattle off a whole bunch of places in Shas. But do you know the machlokes in Shas are very serious? The machlokes of tzaras erva. Whether there should be yibum with a tzaras erva, which if you hold there's not, is an isser kares and makes a mamzer. Yet there was such an argument between Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel. And they saw things completely different. It's a fact that, why is the halacha like, what's the Gemara in Eruvin? The halacha is like Beis Hillel because they always said over the Shita Beis Shammai, and not only that, but they said it first. And I always learned the Gemara that they reviewed it seriously first. They gave serious thought to an opinion not like theirs. Happens to be that there are people that believe that we don't know what's in the vaccinations and they're not safe. I don't feel that way at all. But there are gedolim that feel that way. And we have to know that there's enough of them that we could be comfortable to say it's a minority opinion. Believe it or not, there was a minority of opinion that didn't hold of Mordechai. He was only Ratzi L'Roi V'Echav. There could be a minority opinion. There's a majority opinion and there's a minority opinion. It shouldn't trouble us so much. It could lead to Chilul Hashem, which unfortunately it did. That's a problem. It's a problem. I don't have an answer for that. You expect me to have an answer for everything in an hour? I have an answer for that. But the fact of the matter is, it's not so hard to accept.